Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Today, as always, we always have special guests on the show, and I'm lucky enough to have Andrew. Andrew, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
No trouble at all. Well, I don't know how lucky you are, but yeah, you've built me up there. But thank you. My pleasure.
I'm so glad that you said that you'd come on and share your story. Could you just introduce yourself and tell us what you do and your journey on where you got today?
Yeah. Yes. Well, look, if we go back many moons ago to the beginning, as a kid, I was sort of a lover of all sports. I played football, basketball, cricket, rugby, and then by about 11 or 12, got introduced to golf, and then got completely hooked on golf. Love being outdoors. I was okay, and I was able to get good enough to turn pro when I was 18, which was great. I usually introduce myself as a failed or rubbish ex-professional golfer, and people say, "Oh no, it's just you being modest." I go, "No, I really was quite rubbish as professional golfers go." But no, look, it was I did turn pro, and I sort of attempted to play a bit professionally, but ultimately, I soon realized that I didn't want to play golf 365 days of the year, which is pretty much what you have to do to get to the top, right?
Andrew, I'm hearing so many people saying, "Are you crazy? You were playing golf every single day of the year and you just got fed up of it."
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't want to do anything 365 days of the year, right? Like, I don't, there's nothing that I want to do that much. I don't love, I love golf, and I still love it now. And I'm fortunate to work with some amazing broadcast guys in MST who work very closely with the European Tour. So I managed to, it was interesting actually. I was in Dubai for the Desert Classic earlier this year, and I turned up at the golf course, and it was the first time ever I thought, my God, maybe I should have tried a bit harder. Maybe I should have tried a bit harder, right? And I watched a lad that I used to play with at county level, a great lad called Andy Sullivan. And he'd already been on the range for about 2 or 3 hours, walked to the putting green for half an hour, spent 5.5 hours on the course, and then walked off the 18th green and went straight back on to the driving range. And I thought, yeah, nah, that is the level of, and that's, I didn't love it that much. Crikey, I absolutely take my hat off to it. And look, people who work in offices or work in any other jobs whose golf is their hobby, they just can't understand how someone could possibly get not bored. I didn't get bored. I just didn't want to play it that much, But and look, ultimately, I don't want to turn. This is definitely not a sub story in any way, shape, or form, but even at a very, very local level, the sort of pressure and scrutiny that was put on me, buggered me up, at 21. And this is a story that I tell, very, very openly and quite often. At 21, I wanted to throw myself off the top of a car park, and people go, "Oh my God, that's like, oh Jesus," and I was like, but that's, it almost felt as if I couldn't go anywhere without someone saying, "Oh, you could have done this, you could have done that, you're a waste of talent. If I had your talent," and it was like being poked. It was like being poked constantly. And at 21, I had a complete breakdown, and I think if it wasn't from a family, I, probably would have got sectioned and end up in all sorts of problems. And look, this isn't an unusual story.
No,
right? Let me tell you, this is happening every day to kids. And I was just a kid who liked playing golf, and ended up in a situation like that. And, the professional therapy and counseling that I received, saved my life, along with my family and friends. I have absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. And, so that gave me a real passion for understanding, golf gave me everything. Golf gave me, a huge amount, but it also nearly destroyed me, right? And it gave me a real understanding of how we put, and I've got to express to you how average I would be a conference footballer, okay, or maybe even a non-league footballer if I was a professional footballer. So even at that level, so you can only imagine what what the, you know, the top guys are going through with regards to scrutiny. And, you know, I had this huge passion for really understanding and wanting to help, and almost, you know, maybe even selfishly, I just didn't want people to end up the way that I ended up with no one to turn to. You know, I don't come from a particularly sporty family. You know, my family were hugely supportive, and I never felt any pressure at all from my parents. But no, like, no one really understood. No one probably heard a lot of the stuff that was told to me. And sometimes they were from people who I really admired and respected in their own right. And, you know, these people would be telling me that, you know, I'd regret it for the rest of my life, and that was a waste of talent, and, you know, you don't realize how lucky you are, and, you know, and these are sort of some of the most impressionable years of your life, right? You know, from the age of like 15 to 21, like, you take it, you know, you absorb a lot of this stuff. And look, I'm a soft sod, you know, I'm an emotional person, you know, and it was tough. And, you know, I was very fortunate to have a great career in golf course management. And then at 25, met a guy, introduced to a guy called Dr. David Collier, who was the chief exec. At the time, he was a chief exec of the England Wales Cricket Board. And, you know, he was on the board at Dallas Cowboys, and, you know, 10 Downing Street's government advisor on Sport England. And you know, here's me, this 25-year-old lad, got introduced to David. And I said, look, this is what I went through, and this is what I want to do about it. And he was like, right, I'm leaving the ECB at Christmas. I want to help you. And I was like, you sure? you know, David could have probably walked into any top sports administration job in the world, you know, and let me tell you, there was a lot of people who wanted him. And, you know, he turned a lot of them down, and we set up a sports management company. And we set up a sports management company focusing on our, you know, clients' emotional and mental well-being first. And it was very simple. You know, we were going to support athletes in the way that we thought that they should be supported. So, you know, ultimately, are they making the right decision for them? Not for financial gain, not for a club, not for, you know, anything else. And there were lots of different things that we put in place. You know, we put a mentoring system in place. So we had ex-pros who were mentoring the athletes, on the basis that when I was 19 or 20, if a Lee Westwood or a Darren Clark turned around to me and went, "Hey, Rixie, I think you should probably see a counsellor," I would have done it in a heartbeat. You know, if anyone else would have told me, I would have told them where to go. So, you know, and then we had professional support, but we almost had to disguise it in the background, because, you know, a 19-year-old lad who's just signed his first professional contract at Arsenal doesn't really care that you're going to look after his emotional, mental well-being. Why should he? He's just signed his first. He's on top of the world. You know, he's absolutely fine. He's never going to need that support. What he wants to know is what boots you can get him, what deal he can get you on a new Mercedes, and you know, what nightclubs you can get him into. So we had to disguise a lot of the good stuff that we did behind the flashy and fluffy stuff, and I really struggled with that. You know, I really struggled. You know, and ultimately I would get probably way too emotionally involved, because I understood, you know, I understood what could happen to these kids, and you know, a lot of the time that, you know, they were kids, even the lads in their 20s, you know, I still saw them as kids. And you know, so whether that was with the clubs, with other agents, with the players' parents, who, look, sometimes were our worst enemies, I really, you know, I struggled to take the emotion out of it. And you know, we set up a commercial division, and that's when I sort of got more into the business side of sport. And you know, because of the way that we worked and operated, you know, we would move a player from here to here, and a finance director or a chairman of the club would go, "Hey, look, you know, you guys seem to work in the right way, and you know, you seem to be doing the right thing. We're looking for a shirt sponsor, or we want to, you know, we're looking for a betting partner, or we want to sell our stadium naming rights. Is there anything you can help us with?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I'll have a go." I mean, why not? You know, I had David and an amazing board of directors. So then that's when we opened the commercial division, and I started doing some media and advertising and marketing campaigns.
So let me get this right. So you gone through this horrendous experience of nearly a mental breakdown. And then,
oh no, it was absolutely a mental breakdown.
So you went through this whole thing, and then you thought to yourself, hold on a second, I want to try to help some people with this same problem, potentially with the same thing that I went through, because I felt what I went through. And then all of a sudden you found this guy that loved what you were trying to do, and said, right, I'm going to come and join you. And then all of a sudden your business started to escalate on many different other levels and platforms because of what you just started from trying to help people.
Yeah, I mean, it was really difficult because there would, the industry still isn't ready for it. I would have loved to, and this, we're talking sort of 7-8 years ago. So I would have loved to have stood in front of a load of people and said, this is Hicks Management Group, and we are going to look after our players' and emotional, mental well-being. Unfortunately, certainly the football world and the sports world then, and still doesn't want to hear that. Like I say, if you're a player and it's interesting actually, when I would have discussions with parents, and I would often sit down with a mum and say, hey, look, the reason why myself and David set up this business is our primary number one goal is to make sure your son doesn't end up the way I ended up. Like, simple as that. That's our ultimate goal, and that's an incredibly powerful message.
Yeah.
But ultimately, whether it's the parents, whether it's other agencies buying their way in, and let me tell you, that happens. There's been situations where the other parent has turned up with a brand new car, and ripped up our contract and gone with another contract. As long as he keeps the brand new car, he signs with the other agency, and that, ultimately that's what you're up against. So we're absolutely, we set it up for the right reasons, and all the directors and all the members of staff were, look, it was difficult. We had to try and find other people that wanted to work the way that we wanted to work. And that was the hardest problem. Now, in any industry, as you well know, when you get paid a percentage of what someone else gets paid, there are going to be very grey areas and grey advice. So, if you've got a player and you've got two options, and the agent would get £100,000 if he goes to option A, but £50,000 if he goes to option B, and as a person, option B is without a shadow of a doubt the best choice for this lad, there is not many people in the world, I think, that can advise that person to go to option B. And that's all. That is ultimately the issue.
Do you think that there's more and more people like yourself now in this industry that are trying to take them to option B?
I haven't seen many. I haven't seen many. I think until we're at a stage where there are flat fees, where the agent gets paid where he goes to A or B, then there is going to be a lot more clearer advice and proper advice to those players. But ultimately, it's this, I'd imagine it's the same issue in recruitment or estate agency. When you're getting paid a percentage of something else, look, are you going to give the right advice when there's twice as much? Hey, look, you're talking about numbers which are for one person are life changing. If you've got an agent, hearing stories now where agents are getting multi-million pound bonuses for taking players from one club to another. Can you I'm not sure I've met many people. Unfortunately, we had a few of them at Hicks, and all I had an amazing board of advisors, the board of directors that all bought into this and would have pointed them to option B. But is there many out there? I'm not sure.
Because I get, is it people say that it's becoming more prevalent is from a mental health perspective, and people are suffering. Footballers are suffering. They're spending a lot of time on their own. They do training for 3 hours on a daily basis, and then they're back home and they're playing their PlayStations, or they're very isolated.
Well, no, I mean, yeah. Let's not think that mental health issues is anything new. Let's talk about Paul Gascoigne, Vinnie Jones, Paul Merson, Tony Adams. The list is endless. You talk about boxers, you talk about athletes. This is sports people, suffering with mental health issues is certainly nothing new. I think because of obviously the opening of social media, then that scrutiny, you imagine the scrutiny that I got at, at such a local, a town level, bumping into people, whether it was at the course, in the pub, in the shopping centre, wherever it might be. But you think that, you can almost hide away from that now. There's simply no chance. With Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, there's simply nowhere for these guys to hide. And it's interesting that so often you come across but he gets 100 grand a week. Well, I don't understand. I don't understand that logic where that's acceptable. What we have to remember is that a lot of these guys aren't on 100 grand a week. We were often dealing with League One, League Two conference players who were earning the same as a tradesman, a plumber, a milkman, a postman, a doctor. So would you hurl that kind of abuse at your binman, at your GP, at your dentist? No, of course you wouldn't. But because you paid 20 quid to see this lad on a Saturday, if he plays badly and you see him on the Sunday, that gives you every right to hurl the most vile, horrific things you've ever heard in your life. I've had grown men cry down the phone to me, because of, could be walking down the street with his family and people come up to them and will shout at them things which are horrific.
It's
absolutely horrific.
Terrible.
And look, I never got that level of abuse. I just, what I felt is that sort of for probably 3, 4, 5 years, I just got people telling me how disappointed they were in me, and that takes its toll. I don't have thick skin, and that takes its toll. And it took. And the thing is, look, people, 99% of the people that said those things to me don't realise what they're doing. Of course they don't.
I'm just so glad that there's people out there, because everybody suffers from demons. Don't matter, as you said, there's so many tradesmen. Everybody has some sort of demons and some sort of issues that they're dealing with. And I've got to say that I'm with what I do now with this podcast. You get to hear so many different stories. Whether that's I know an athlete that was a sprinter that believed that it was all in the mind. He was in practice. He was clocking 10 zeros for the 100 meters, but unfortunately, when it came to competitions, it was 10-4, so it was miles apart. I had another squash player on the show last week that had 6 world champions from squash in his family, and that was an incredible amount of pressure that was on him. I can't even imagine that. I just can't imagine that. So everyone has got these demons, but I am. I'm glad that there's people like you and me out there that will go for the option B. And I help people in company formation. I've just come off a hackathon that I'm helping young ladies find their way in the entrepreneurial world, and they want to be empowered. I'm glad that there are people out there like you and me, because that's what makes the world better. And there are a lot of people out there. How is it affect you? And what I love about the conversation that we've had just now is that you started with this, but then all of a sudden people trust you. They can see what you're doing, and they see the things, and then they start saying, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Because that's always the reason why my business is growing.
Yeah, I absolutely hit the nail on the head there. And look, maybe I believe in karma, and and I'm not suggesting karma is some sort of magical, element that is sort of praising us every time we do something good. But ultimately, what goes around comes around, and certainly within sport, it's and sport business, it's a small world, so if you act in the right way, if you try and do the right thing, and ultimately you do what you say you're going to do, I would like to think those things come back and help you. And I would like to think that, a lot of the stuff that I work on now is because of the things that I did for people maybe 6-7 years ago. So yeah, like I said, it might be naivety, but look, I'm sticking with it. I'm fine with that. But I do believe in karma. In that. And look, I guess that, just the way I was brought up, that you treat people how you like to be treated, and yeah, like I say, you know that always leaves the door open to be potentially bullied and you know, done over, if you like. But hey, look, you know, I'm happy to take that.
I'm so glad you come on, because you're just the perfect guest. Absolutely. Let's go on to your successes now. And obviously that was one of them. But what do you come on today and because of your business side of things in sports and investments, so that you can give some knowledge to people. What are you doing now? How has it gone for you, and what kind of activities are you doing right now?
Yeah, interestingly, you know, sort of, you know, Hicks is now ultimately a non-for-profit, basically an advice service. So that still runs, and that's almost like my hobby. You know, I still get calls from coaches, physios, athletes to help them in one way, shape or another, and you know, and I love doing that. And you know, since my work through there and through, you know, the influx of technology into sport, you know, I was getting asked more and more by technology companies, hey, look, you know, we've got this amazing technology. We're based in Mumbai, we're based in Dallas, we're based in Australia. You know, we're making great headroads, but you know, we really want to get into the UK, really want to get into the Premier League, you know, and we really want to get in touch with Bundesliga or the NBA. You've built up these trusted networks and these contacts, you know, can you help us? And when they first came to me, I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, look, you know, I could just, after 3 months, I can just about work my Netflix now. And, you know, that's as far, I mean, my friends find it hilarious that I'm, you know, apparently a leading sports technology advisor, because, you know, I am a switch it off, leave it for 2 minutes, and let's hope it works when we switch it back on again kind of guy. But what I found is that because I'm not, hey, look, I'm not an academic, I'm not a technologist. What happened is that when I would talk to these technology companies, I didn't get what they'd built. I didn't get how long they'd spent building it, what it does at the back end. All I wanted to know was, if I put you in front of a rights holder, why are they going to be impressed with it? How is it going to change their life? How is it going to change the way they operate? Is it going to please a sponsor? Are they going to make money? Are they going to save money? So I sort of had I'd like to think, a polite way of cutting through all the noise and getting to the right, what it is that you do, because it's human instinct. If you've built something up, if you spent years and years building up something technology wise and creating something, you want to shout about it, right? You want to tell everyone, you want to tell them how complicated and how difficult it was. But ultimately, rights holders haven't got the time, and to be honest with you, they don't care. You know, we've got 20 minutes to try and convince them that this piece of technology is going to make a difference to their day-to-day lives. And I found out that I was quite good at it. So to the point now where, you know, some of my work, like I say previously, you know, there's some amazing technology companies out there that I'm helping. And, you know, it can be from to go out and talk about it, to engage with the right people at the right time, because what our knowledge of sport is, you know, we take it for granted, but a lot of people don't know that you probably shouldn't be trying to knock down the door of Liverpool the day after a Champions League semi-final, which is quite obvious to, you know, maybe to us, but, you know, to a technology company, they just want to get in the door and sell the thing. So yeah, just having a huge amount of insight into rights holders, what they want, who's got funding, when, going to the right people, but ultimately knowing that if I phone up someone, I would like to think they would pick up the phone, because they one, they trust me, and two, if I'm saying take a look at this, they go, it must be worth taking a look at. So now, you know, it's interesting. I work, you know, Stack Sports, based out of Dallas, is the world's largest sports software provider. We own 32 different sports software businesses across, you know, there's a load of stuff in the States across college football, scouting. I represent them in Europe, where most of our offerings, certainly in the UK, we work extensively with the Rugby Football League around their membership software, events, competitions. We also work with people like England Basketball, Chelsea Football Club, World 10 Pin Bowling, an incredible organization. I have great fun with them, expanding their European business. Almost to the extreme, and then, Stack Sports are $100 million company. The other company I work with is 30 guys based out of the Malvern Hills, who are like some of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life, who do all the broadcast graphics and data innovations for like the European Tour and EuroLeague basketball. And, they've been going 35 years, but no one's ever heard of them because they're way too modest. so they employ a guy with a big gob like me to go and tell everyone else how good they are.
I'm sorry, but when did you realize you had a big gob? What? And
I'm 36 years old. I reckon I realized about 35 years ago, Steve. But no, look, I think there's, I've, and going back to golf, as a 13, 14-year-old, I played at the local, public golf course. But there, at 12, 13, 14, I could be playing golf with like the doorman of the local nightclub, and on one of the 4 balls, and then the next day I'm playing with the MD of the local paint factory, and then a professor, and then and then a brickie. And so from a very early age you get used to talking to people, and one of my new roles now is around investments and early stage sports tech businesses, which is going to develop into a small VC. It's just honesty. I can't. People.
Oh dear. I've been listening to so many people recently, and I'm into exactly the same thing, because I'm exactly like yourself. You get people say to you, "Oh, you're pretty good at this. You've got a bit of a gob on you. Let's I think you can do this." And because we want to go in the right direction and act on their best on their best on behalf of them, we do those right decisions, and people can trust us. But I've been trying to work out recently. I've been listening to a lot of people, and they say, "Tell it how it is, but be open and honest."
Yeah, I say, I was on an investment webinar the other week, and they're like, what's the one piece of advice? Just be honest. Like, I don't care what stage the business is at. I don't care if you developed in your garage. I don't care. Ultimately, I don't really care what your team is, and I don't come from a finance or VC background, and there's so many things in this investment world that I find very strange or peculiar. But just tell me what it is you've got, or what your idea is. Just don't beat around the bush. Just tell me what it is. The more people talk and the more people waffle, I just switch off. I'm a big fan of I'm probably waffling now, but that's what people are thinking. They're thinking, bloody hell, you're waffling now.
No, I relate to this so much.
But I just say it as it is. Like you say, if you try and hide something, you'll soon get found out.
I just told you I was on beforehand. I told you I was on this hackathon. What's your advice to anybody that's starting up with a concept? Because I know that you do a lot of work, and the advice you're giving out to people, you're doing it daily.
Yeah, I think I see. I think first of all, the idea itself. I see so many pitch decks. The first thing I always want to see is what is the problem you're solving, because I see it in rights holders now. Broadcasters, everyone's trying to innovate. How can we do something different? What are the NBA doing? What is the Bundesliga doing? How can we do something different? But we're in this world at the minute where we're innovating sometimes for the sake of innovating. And that innovation doesn't always bring something of benefit, either to the viewer, to the subscriber, to the fan. And sometimes founders you spend literally years building something which could be technology-wise incredible. But if it doesn't benefit someone, if it doesn't fill a void, if it doesn't please a sponsor, if it doesn't make someone money, if it doesn't engage with someone, what is the problem? Don't innovate for the sake of innovating. What is the problem? So I see a lot of these tech guys who have come, 2 guys that have used to work for, British Olympics, and they, there was this big problem in their day-to-day job, and they, and they've come out to fix that problem, and they built something great, I want to hear it, because I already know that there's a problem there, because you told me that there was a problem there, because that's why you stepped out of your job and do it. So, but I think with all, you know, getting things off the ground, hey, look, you know, money is sparse, you know, at the minute, and you know, the investment money that is available is going to the top, you know, the you know, maybe the slightly later stages ones, or the really, you know, 2% of the best. If you're potentially in that next category, the one thing I do say to people is that there's so many people come to us for money and for investment, and sometimes they need to go out and sell the thing. Like, everyone wants money because, you know, everyone wants to, you know, if you're a founder and you've got something, you go, well, actually, it might take us, you know, might take us a year to sell it. You know, we better go and raise £1 million to cover us for the next year. No, go and sell it. Go and sell what you've got. You know, try and build up partnerships. You know, you know, there's so many people like myself who you can leverage to, you know, to sell what you've built. You know, don't go and raise more money. Go and sell it. And, you know, and if you have to run a free pilot, if you have to go in somewhere and do a free pilot and do a proof of concept, then go and do it. You know, it is, you know, for so long, there's been so much, you know, for the last 10 years, there's been so much venture money knocking about, certainly in London, that I think we've lost a little bit of the entrepreneurial flair to, actually, I'm not going to take any more investment. I've got it. Right. I'm going for it now. I'm going to go and sell it. You know, I think we've got very used to raising more money, and probably for someone who raises, you know, money sometimes, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but, you know, I often say to people, look, I don't think you need money. You've got it. You've got a proof of concept. You've got some clients. You've got the marketing. You've got, go and sell it. You know, you should be coming to me going, Andy, can you help me sell this thing, rather than trying to raise another £250,000. And probably just coming from a non-finance background, the one thing I still find absolutely fascinating, and, you know, people will be trusting me with their life savings, their pensions, their inheritances, to invest in some of these companies. And every company that ever comes to me, it's always £500,000, £1 million, 2 million, 5 mil, 10 mil. No one ever turns around to me and goes, I need to raise £863,452.83. Now, I've taken it to the extreme there, but you get my point. You know, it's that this thing of just rounding figures up, it astonishes me. It absolutely astonishes me. And, you know, I had a conversation with a guy the other week, and, you know, he said, I want to raise between 1 and 2 mil. And I said, well, look, can I just stop you there? And can we get this right? Because there's a big bloody difference between 1 and 2. It's about £1 million. So, you know, I think be really, really specific in, 1, how much you want to raise, and 2, I want to know what it's being spent on. And like I say, I think we've been spoiled over the last 10 years. And I think we've hit a bit of a corner with regards to venture money. Like I say, it's been so readily available for such a long time, certainly in London, and certainly around some cities in Europe, that, you know, maybe VCs have been a little bit lazy and not interrogating some startups quite enough. But yeah, be prepared to be interrogated if you want any dosh off us. So
I don't care if anybody. I know this is because people say to me, they say, "Oh, how do you judge your podcast?" And it's like, well, if I'm learning something, it's a good podcast. Yeah. And it's like the stuff that you're giving me right now it's just reaffirming what I'm already telling people. And it's like I've not got as much experience as yourself, but I provide a service. I make sure, as you said, I really do feel a responsibility, whether it is somebody that wants to invest, or whether it's that individual that I've been working with for 4 years, and I believe in whatever someday is going to bring me something that's going to be flipping huge. You know, it's and what you're saying to me is just music to my ears, because that's exactly what I'm saying to people.
But again, you know, the honesty thing, you know, I don't even mind if a startup comes to us and goes, look, money's tight, we need to raise some money, but at this moment in time, we're not entirely sure how much. That isn't, like, no problem whatsoever. Like, no problem. Right, yeah. Let's have a look at it and see how much realistically, you know, you need. I would much prefer that than someone to go, yeah, maybe a couple of mil, You go, well, no, hang on a minute, like just maybe like, and people, I think sometimes as founders, and I've been there as a founder and and taking investment, is that, I think sometimes we just think that this money is coming off some big pot somewhere, and it maybe doesn't even matter. Founders have to imagine that this is someone's life savings, this is someone's pension pot, this is someone's inheritance. This is someone's money that you're asking for. So be very specific, be bluntly honest, and like I say, even if you think that's of detriment to you, just put it out there. Just put it out there if you're not sure.
That's brilliant advice. Absolutely brilliant advice. Now, how has this COVID period affected your business, and how has it affected you as an individual? How did it?
Yeah. Interestingly, well, look, I was probably one of these at the start of COVID. Well, lockdown. Of course, they're not going to bloody lock down. It's 2020. Of course, you're not going to go in lockdown. Next week we went into lockdown. So it was, first of all, it was a big shock. But you know what? I'm not complaining. I've got. I've got a roof over my head. I've got the internet. I've got Netflix. I'm surrounded by fields. I've got a computer. I've got I've got a mountain bike. I can't, I got, well, between you and me and everyone who's listening, I got into a bit of a very I was going to say heated debate, but it was a Barney with someone because they compared it to the war the other day. And, I was just like, well, hang on a minute. Can I just stop you there? No one's being shot at. No one's having bombs dropped on me. We're not starving. We've got to stay at home for a few weeks. You need to get a grip, really. And look, I'm the first one to acknowledge people's mental health in this period, obviously. But look, I think the ability to get out and exercise and get fresh air and see other people at a distance is absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial. There's certainly been times where it's been tough. It's been tough. But look, I think we have to put things into perspective and look that there is an end. There will be an end to it. And, I think business wise, look, it's with regards to sport. Again, it's been difficult. Obviously broadcast has been hit hard. The European Tour and EuroLeague both stopped along with most of the sports. So, but look, I think we've tried to use any time off as an opportunity to sort of assess the business, where we go in, really focus on strategies. But also it's given a lot of rights holders the chance to jump on a load of Zoom calls. There was certainly for probably 10 weeks where I was constantly talking to people, and there's, and without sounding like an old fuddy-duddy, I think that maybe the younger generation, the generation below me, have sort of lost a little bit of the knack of being able to speak to people. Like, sometimes people say, oh, why are you speaking to them? I said, well, look, I'm just, just having a chat just to see if I can help. And if there is any opportunities, they go, well, hang on a minute, you can't just have a chat. You go, well, why not? Why not? Just have a chat, let's have a chat. Let's have a coffee. And if nothing comes of it, then no worries. And again, I sort of, sound like a right old fart, but I always encourage people just to jump on the phone, just to, certainly through COVID, see how people are. Just making sure you're all right, mate. How are things? Well, I've been on furlough in the midst of it. Well, look, if there's anything I can help you with, well, actually, there is something you could help me with. Oh, right. Well, look, I've always had the opinion, look, if you don't talk about it, then you'll never know. And I think being in a really, really dark place and being affected by depression and mental illness, that the absolutely one thing that it has taught me is the benefits of talking, whether that's about how you feel, whether that's about how someone else feels, whether that's discussing potential opportunities. Not much happens when you keep quiet. So talk, just chat, just have a chat.
I would say the business that the businesses that we've got is boomed really, and it wasn't because this isn't going to be one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through in my life, and when you do look back on life, you look back and you look at the struggles that you went through, and you're proud of those times more than the memories that you think about. Oh yeah, that was a great time. It's the hardships that you went through and you overcame that really stand out. And I don't think I'm really pleased that at the beginning of this thing, I've done exactly what you said. I continually, and I do it now religiously, going through my phone book to see who I've missed and who I could have contacted or who I should contact. And the response that you get from people just from a call to say, are you okay? Is everything all right? How's it going? It's like, you would not believe. And it's like, I know that I was in a cafe the other day and I had a meeting with somebody, and I was keeping my distance. We had our distance between us, but I ended up there was a lady in front of me, and she had Aspire Academy on the back of her t-shirt. And it's like, oh, hello, I'm going to start talking to this lady because she could be a potential guest on the show. By the small amount of time, and I like it when we've only got not even 2 minutes to kind of exchange cards. It's like, that's the buzz. It's like, come on, let's kind of get to know each other. Let's see what we could do together in the future. Let's see the potential. And I think you're exactly the same thing. And where did we meet? We just met on LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like you say, like I said, and look, the whole social media thing, technology thing, has taken away some of the training of the younger generation of sort of face to face and being a bit more open and a bit more upfront and talking and look, that's not their fault, but I do try and encourage all the people that I work with is to talk face, whether it's obviously over the phone, over Zoom, put your camera on and have a chat, and like you say, if nothing will ever happen by you keeping quiet, that's for absolute certain.
100%. And I always say, because I came to Qatar 11 years ago, and the biggest thing for me was you could even look back in, if you don't offer that hand of friendship, then don't expect anybody to do the same to you. It's like, initiate it. Your life could change.
And look, this comes back to our business conversation, right? If you're not willing to help people when they're in need or they have a problem, don't expect a leg up when you need help. So, like I say, it's the whole karma, what goes around comes around kind of thing. And like I say, I am still a firm believer in it. And even if that leaves the door open to be, like I say, done over a couple of times, but I'm okay with that.
I like you. I really like you. Is there anything you would want to change in your life right now?
Well, I could murder a bit of sun, Steve. I'm telling you. Well, funnily enough, I do like a holiday, but the next best thing at the minute is a caravan. So I bought a caravan for me and my daughter to go away with on the weekends. Well, let me tell you, this caravan's older than I am. It's seen better days. Let me tell you, it's got character, I think you'd call it. But it's great to get away on the weekend. But you know what? Interesting question, and there really should be something, but. I would love all this to be over to go and meet people again. I was spending a lot of time in London going backwards and forwards, and I never thought I'd miss it, but I do. I miss human interaction. I see, I miss going for coffees or beers with people, and but look, like I say, it's one of those years which we sort of have to. Hopefully, it will be a year. I'm a sort of try and have my glass half full if I can. Well, usually full, it can, but yeah. Look, hopefully by the end of this year, it will be in the past, and we can move on, and I can jump on a plane and go and sit on a beach for a week.
Yeah. Oh, I'm lucky enough. We've got a beach. It's just whether you go to the beaches.
Don't.
You just got to be complacent a little bit.
Well, I'm usually on the phone every morning at about 6:30 with Australia, and they remind me on a daily basis of the weather forecast over there. So it's usually just as my heating's coming on, they tell me that they're.
Can you do me a big, massive favor? Can you make sure that this isn't the last time that we have you on the show? Not for this.
No, absolutely not. No. I'm always happy. Yeah.
And we've got a website called Business Startup Qatar, and we're going to be starting to do websites. We're going to be our new website because we've taken advantage of the COVID. We've reevaluated, and we're going to launch that next week. But it's all about helping individual businesses, helping people to give some advice about the lessons that we've learned. And I know that you could share so much on that too.
Yeah. Hey, look, the stuff that, I've learned is mainly through buggering things up or through failure. That's how I've learned. So more than happy to pass any words of wisdom on to stop anyone else failing like I did at times. So yeah, not a problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
I'm really thankful that you've come on the show. There is so many different things that are going to be buzzing in my head. I get this all the time when I get podcasts. And when they are special, and I mean this one, when they are special, I'm constantly revising the what we spoke about. And there's just so many things that I'm going to be going over in my mind tonight. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for giving that advice to so many people out there.
No trouble at all. My pleasure. My pleasure, Steve. Well done.
Andrew, thank you so much indeed. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Cheers, Andrew.